The spare key turned in the lock of my $350,000 condo, and I stepped inside expecting a quiet weekend. Instead, I found my parents unpacking my golden child sister's boxes into my master bedroom. My mother didn't even look up as she casually said, "Your sister needs a place to live, and since you're doing so well, you can just keep paying the mortgage while she lives here rent-free." They thought I'd cry, fight, or submit like I always did. They didn't realize I was standing there holding a signed real estate contract. While my family spent the week celebrating their free luxury home, I was quietly finalizing the cash sale of the property. When the moving trucks arrived, it wasn't for her, it was for the new owners. My name is Sophie Martin. I'm 34 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the invisible pillar of my family. While my younger sister, Chloe, was coddled, celebrated, and bailed out of every bad decision she ever made, I was expected to sit back, stay quiet, and figure life out on my own. So that's exactly what I did. I worked 60-hour weeks as a software project manager, scrimped, saved, and built a life I was proud of. 3 years ago, I bought my dream home, a high-end, 2-bedroom condo in downtown Denver valued at $350,000. Every single dollar of the deposit, the closing fees, and the monthly payments came straight from my own sweat and discipline. I love that space. It was my sanctuary, proof that I didn't need anyone's help to succeed. 6 months ago, my company offered me a temporary management contract in a neighboring city. The pay was incredible, but it meant I had to live in temporary corporate housing for half a year. Instead of renting my condo out to strangers, I decided to lock it up, keep my custom furniture inside, and continue paying the $2,200 monthly mortgage directly out of my own pocket. It was expensive, but knowing my personal home was safe, clean, and waiting for my return made every penny worth it. What I didn't know was that while I was away grinding to secure my future, my parents and Chloe were already making plans to tear it apart. They saw my empty, paid-for sanctuary not as my hard-earned personal property, but as a free prize just waiting to be claimed by the family favorite. It was a brisk Saturday morning when I drove back into Denver. My work contract was progressing smoothly, and I just needed to swing by my condo to pick up a stack of tax documents and some winter clothes I'd left in the master closet. I pulled into my assigned parking spot, grabbed my tote bag, and walked up to the front door, expecting the quiet stillness of an empty home. Instead, I heard voices echoing from inside. Confused, I tapped my key code into the digital lock. The keypad flashed red and beeped aggressively. Access denied. I tried it again, thinking I'd made a typo. Nothing. Before I could dig my physical backup key out of my purse, the front door swung wide open. My mother stood in the entryway holding a paintbrush, wearing an old t-shirt covered in beige splatters. Behind her, the hallway was completely cluttered with cardboard boxes, plastic totes, and flat-packed furniture. "Sophie," my mother said, not with warmth, but with a sharp flicker of annoyance. "What are you doing here? You should have called first." I pushed past her into the living room, my heart hammering against my ribs. Chloe's toddler was drawing on my hardwood floor with a crayon, while her husband was on a ladder, drilling floating shelves directly into my accent wall. My custom velvet sofa had been shoved into a corner, covered in trash bags. "What is going on here?" I asked, my voice shaking with rising fury. "Why is my lock code changed?" My dad walked out of my master bedroom carrying my expensive memory foam mattress toward the spare room. He wiped his brow and looked at me as if I were an uninvited guest interrupting their hard work. "Oh, good you're here," my dad said casually. "Chloe needed a fresh start after her apartment lease ended. Since you're living in corporate housing and doing so well financially, we moved her family in. You'll keep covering the $2,200 mortgage, of course. It's the least a good sister can do." I stared at my father, completely dumbfounded. "You moved them into my home? You changed my locks? This is a $350,000 property, and I am paying every single cent of the mortgage." My mother slammed her paintbrush down onto a plastic drop cloth, her face hardening instantly. "Don't you start with that selfish tone, Sophie. Your sister is struggling with a young child, and you're out here hoarding a whole empty condo just for your ego. Real family shares. You make plenty of money, so paying the mortgage while Chloe gets back on her feet shouldn't even be a question." Chloe strolled out of my master bedroom holding a stack of paint swatches. She looked me up and down with a smug, victorious grin. "Honestly, Sophie, you're never here anyway. We're actually doing you a favor by keeping the place lived in. Besides, we're repainting the master sweet sage green. That beige you had was so depressing. They had already packed up my clothes, shoved my personal belongings into 3 crushed cardboard boxes, and exiled them to the cold concrete floor of the garage. I felt a sudden, icy stillness wash over me. For 20 years, I had argued, pleaded, and tried to reason with their twisted family logic, only to be labeled the cold-hearted, greedy daughter every single time. I looked at Chloe's smug face, and my parents were decorating my sanctuary like it was their birthright, and I realized something profound. Yelling wouldn't work. Calling the police right now would only start a weeks-long legal nightmare they would manipulate me out of. So, I forced a slow, calm smile to my face. "You know what? You're right," I said softly. "Family comes first." They thought they had broken me. They had no idea I had just bought myself complete, total stealth. I spent the next 48 hours acting like the submissive, obedient daughter they always wanted. I smiled, nodded, and even offered to send over a list of local handymen to help them settle in. They were so blinded by their own greed and arrogance that they genuinely believed they had won. They thought I was going to quietly foot the $2,200 monthly mortgage while Chloe lived like a queen in my $350,000 condo. They didn't know that the moment I pulled out of the driveway, I called Marcus, a high-end real estate investor I'd worked with on previous corporate software projects. Marcus specialized in turnkey residential properties and was known for fast, hassle-free cash acquisitions. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady and cold. "I have a 2-bedroom luxury condo in downtown Denver. Fully furnished, prime location, valued at $350,000. I'll sell it to you today for $310,000 cash, on one strict condition. We close in 14 days, and you handle the physical possession on closing day." Marcus didn't hesitate. An instant $40,000 in built-in equity was a dream deal for an investor. Over the next week, while Chloe posted photos on social media boasting about her new dream home and hosting wine nights with her friends on my dime, I was executing a silent military operation. I scheduled the home inspection and buyer walkthroughs during the exact weekday hours I knew Chloe was out spending my parents' money at the mall. By Friday evening, the paperwork was finalized, the title company cleared the transaction, and the cash was wire transferred directly into my private investment account. I set the official closing date for the following Saturday morning at 9 a.m., the exact time my parents and Chloe were hosting a massive housewarming brunch for their extended family. Saturday morning arrived, bright and clear. Inside my former condo, the dining table was laden with pastries, mimosas, and flower arrangements. My parents, Chloe, her husband, and half a dozen relatives were gathered in the living room, clinking glasses to celebrate Chloe's brand new, free luxury life. They had no idea that outside in the parking lot, 2 massive commercial moving vans and a local sheriff's deputy were pulling up to the curb. At precisely 9:15 a.m., the heavy knock came. Chloe's husband opened the door, a champagne flute in his hand and an arrogant smirk on his face. He expected another guest. Instead, he was met by Marcus, 2 uniformed moving contractors, and an officer holding a stack of legal documents. "Can I help you?" my brother-in-law asked, his smirk faltering. "Yes," Marcus said calmly, stepping past him into the foyer. "I'm the new legal owner of this property. Your 14-day grace period does not exist because you never had a lease. I need this premises cleared immediately." Pancakes were dropped. Mimosas spilled. My mother rushed to the door, her voice screeching into high gear. "What is the meaning of this insolence? This is my daughter Sophie's condo. You are trespassing." The sheriff stepped forward, his hand resting casually near his belt. "Ma'am, as of 8 o'clock this morning, the deed was officially transferred to Mr. Marcus's LLC. The seller, Sophie, completed a legal cash sale. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal clothing, or my officers will assist in escorting you off the property while the movers bag the rest." Chloe went deadly pale, her phone slipping from her fingers. My dad whipped out his mobile and dialed my number on speakerphone. I answered on the second ring, my voice smooth as silk. "Hello, Dad. How's the housewarming party?" "Sophie, what have you done?" he screamed, his voice echoing through the entire room. "There are men here saying you sold the condo." "I did," I replied coldly. "You told me family shares, but since I paid for every brick of that place, I decided to share it with the real estate market instead. Have fun packing." The moment I hung up that phone, the dam broke. Over the next 3 hours, my screen lit up like a Christmas tree. 79 missed calls, dozens of frantic, enraged text messages. My mother sent voice notes screaming that I was an ungrateful monster who had thrown her own sister and innocent nephew onto the street. My dad left messages threatening to hire a lawyer and sue me for emotional damages. Chloe sent a barrage of texts calling me a psycho and accusing me of deliberately ruining her life out of jealousy. I didn't reply to a single message. Instead, I waited until late afternoon, poured myself a glass of wine in my quiet corporate apartment, and set up a one-time group video call with all three of them. When their faces appeared on the screen, they were sitting in my parents' cramped, cluttered living room surrounded by trash bags full of their clothes. They looked exhausted, disheveled, and utterly defeated. Before my mother could open her mouth to yell, I held up my hand. Stop. If anyone screams, I disconnect this call permanently. The silence on their end was deafening. For 20 years, I said, keeping my voice entirely flat, you treated me like a bank account and Chloe like a princess. You changed my locks, moved into my property, and expected me to pay $50,000 in mortgage payments over the next 2 years so Chloe could live rent-free. You thought I was too weak to fight back. Sophie, we're family, my dad started, his voice cracking. Family doesn't steal, I interrupted. The condo is gone. I cleared nearly $300,000 in liquid cash from the sale, and it's already locked away in private investments. You will never see a single penny of it, and you will never leech off me again. With that, I hung up, blocked all three of their numbers, and deleted them from my life forever. 6 months have passed since that Saturday morning, and my life has never been more peaceful. I finished my work contract, accepted a high-level promotion, and purchased a gorgeous waterfront bungalow 2 states away. I wake up every morning to silence, breathing in the freedom of a life entirely under my own control. Through a mutual childhood friend, I occasionally hear updates about my family. Without my income to subsidize their lifestyle, the illusion shattered quickly. Chloe, her husband, and their toddler were forced to pack up and move into my parents' cramped basement. With 5 people living under one roof, constant financial fights, and no invisible daughter around to pay for their mistakes, the tension in that house is at an all-time high. My parents are finally getting to experience the reality of the golden child they created, and it's costing them every penny they have. Looking back, selling my condo wasn't just about protecting my financial investment. It was about reclaiming my dignity and setting a boundary that could never be crossed again. I stopped being a victim the moment I realized that blood doesn't give anyone a license to exploit you. I'm curious to hear from all of you listening today. If you walked into your own home and found your family trying to take it over, what would you have done? Would you have fought them in court, or would you have pulled a stealth move like mine?